So I want to talk about Spencer, which came out a couple of days ago, and is the big side of the bus kind of adverts for this new Diana biopic. Just context for everyone. So Kristen Stewart plays Princess Diana,
the People's Princess.
The People's Princess, and it's directed by Pablo Larraín, who's a Chilean director, I believe. He's got quite an interesting filmography, but it's set. The whole thing of this is that, and the reason why it's called Spencer, not called Diana, or not called Princess of Wales, is that it's a different take on Diana's life. So if people are expecting sort of a Crown approach or the much forgotten Naomi Watts biopic approach,
Not seen it, but I've heard.
Exactly. This is different. It's all set in over 3 days, one Christmas. It doesn't say what year, but it's.
I noticed that.
It's clearly the early 90s when Diana is separated from Charles, estranged from Charles, but not divorced, still part of the royal family.
Kids are like 10 and 8, something like that.
Yeah, kind of about that age. And it is set in Sandringham over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. Kristen Stewart was like a bit of a bold choice, I think, at the time when everyone heard about this. Because I think people's perception of the way that the royals have been captured has been so preoccupied with the Crown in recent years.
And not a Brit.
Yeah, and not a Brit, which is big. Yeah,
we tend to cast our own, and the Americans tend to cast us.
Yeah, and so
generally.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I don't think I've missed out anything else for the context for anyone. Do you?
Yeah, no, I think that sounds about right. Who else is starring in it? Because there's a lot of supporting characters.
So Kristen Stewart obviously plays Her Royal Highness.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sally Hawkins, you've got Sean Harris, Timothy Spall.
Yeah.
And
that's all I could name, probably.
That's probably it, because it's quite sparse. I mean, it is really a powerhouse one-woman film. But what did you think, James?
I was quite disappointed in it. I really was quite excited to see it. The plans to go see it were sprung up on me, and I was like, oh yeah, really looking forward to see that. I'd love to go and see it. And I think like going into a film called Spencer about Diana Spencer, even however many years we are, not just from her death, but from the time that she was like incredibly famous, not that I was alive to remember it, I think everyone goes in with an incredible amount of expectations of the story, which I think we all weirdly have an attachment to for what happened to that person. And I don't want to start with the negatives. I think there's a lot of things I really liked about it. Like its presentation of Sandringham as this very like frosty and cold place where everyone is whispering, but yet everyone hears what everyone's talking about. And I kind of had this sensation watching it where it was like scene on, scene off. There was scenes that I'd watch and I'd go, that was really good. I really liked that. And then some other scenes where I was like, that did not work. And I actually think that some of the writing really took me out of it. Performances, I think, in general around, really liked it. But overall, I came out of that being like, that didn't sit well with me. There were some analogies that were made which I thought were bad. My friend who was sitting next to me, she said halfway through, she leaned over and whispered to me that some particular scenes which we really just thought didn't work. And she said, this reminds me of the shit you used to take to the Edinburgh Fringe and make me go and see. And I couldn't really disagree with her because I think there were some moments where I was like, I don't like that at all. And I found the particular style of it being like, you know how you said it's set over the course of 3 days. It's not a sweeping, she's born, she lives through her life, she dies kind of film. And it's very much like a portrait of a woman in this situation. And it does, I think in some ways, an effective job of presenting the dilemma that she's in with that family. I think it does it quite accurately. But I thought, for what it was trying to do in that film, I thought it actually tried to do too much, was way too self-indulgent with the themes. There were a couple of things I thought that is so on the nose. I really just was like, really? Is that like what we're gonna do at the end? And I was quite disappointed. There are so many things I love. I thought some of the performances with the supporting characters, I loved. Like Maggie, what's her name again?
Sally Hawkins.
Sally Hawkins, sorry, I think it's brilliant. Timothy Spall, I'd really like those scenes, and then it would go off and do something else, and I would hate that scene. I'd be like, felt like two directors worked on it. Well, I'm curious to see what you think, because you've said I'm very excited to talk about it when you sort of hinted, because we don't talk about films when we're outside the show. We bargain. So I couldn't tell if you either really liked it and wanted to go into the very interesting elements of it.
What do you think I think?
Well, you reacted weirdly when I said I felt mixed and disappointed. So I'm starting to think maybe you agree with me, but I think maybe you like it.
I really liked James.
Yeah.
I almost said I loved it.
Because sorry, before you go into it, I went in to go read some reviews, most of which were really positive, just to check like what's wrong with me. Did I get it wrong? But I didn't read those reviews and be like, oh, that's what I missed. I'm sorry, I just didn't like it. But yeah, let me know.
No, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I really loved it. It was in a way it's my kind of film. I will begin by saying there are, I agree, moments that are very on the nose. The Anne Boleyn kind of running
What
straight.
the hell is that?
Yeah. And there are moments that I think it's probably a little bit too long. And like I talked a couple of times before about the Denis Villeneuve like oppressive tonality. There was a couple of times where I was like, I get it. I've got the message. We have maybe too many scenes of this one.
Yeah.
But no, I really like it, and for the reasons as follows. So, first of all, I knew what this film would be. I know there are a lot of people who won't be. For example, when the film ended, a man left the theatre and I heard him say, well, I thought it was going to be much more like The Crown, you see. And I was quite disappointed. I'm like, this is not, I knew this wouldn't be a conventional biopic. Oh, maybe you did as well.
Yeah.
But so I approached it because I like Pablo Larraín. I was a big fan of one of his previous films he made called Jackie, which is about Jackie Kennedy.
Right.
Which is about...
I haven't seen, but I can tell it's very similar.
They're very similar territory. Jackie was about Jackie Kennedy's experience, again, in a tight time frame. The week...
48 hours. Oh, no,
it was the week of her husband's assassination, from the moment he was killed to his funeral, and her role and her changing role within that as American history is revolving around that. Again, shot in a shimmering, beautiful cinematography with very strange music. And the whole thing about Jackie was like, it captured this fairy tale idea.
Yeah.
This idea that this haunted fairy tale, and there was these ghostly elements. There were scenes of Jackie Kennedy wandering around alone in the White House, wonderfully played by Natalie Portman. I know I'm meant to be talking about Spencer, but this is all context.
Yeah, of course.
And I enjoy, and I had a similar thing with Jackie, which is when I saw it, I thought, okay, that was good, but after I came out of it, it really stayed with me, and I think that's similar with Spencer. So going into Spencer, I thought, I'm looking forward to seeing that approach applied to this story. And the moment it begins, it says, a fable about a true tragedy.
Based on a true tragedy.
Yeah, a fable based on a true tragedy. And I thought I love that, because that is immediately telling you.
Sets the tone.
Yeah, it's telling you, it's like, this is a fable. This is a fictionalization.
It's art on taking a concept of a character and going, let's make some art.
And so that's that guy you left and said he thought it was, thought it'd be like The Crown. Well, did you not read the bit of the
But I saw that opening thing and went, oh, cool. Like, I'm expecting something really clever and different.
But I thought it was such... Because I just thought it was successful in the way that it sort of took the story and biography of Diana as we know
and the relationships know.
And then fictionalizes them within the context of a fairy tale to really highlight the dramatic elements of her life without having to go through the plot points of her life. It's like, really, this film sets her up to be the lonely princess in the tower.
Yeah.
Where to begin? So with like the haunting element, that's what I think I came away with. That's what I was impressed by, is that in typical biography genre, we've got a much more a film that is much more about a person's state of mind, a person's state of emotion, a person's psychodrama.
Sure.
And I like the script. So Stephen Knight wrote the script. I think Stephen Knight, is he Peaky Blinders?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought there were loads of great. I thought there were loads of great double entendres and double meanings in both the script and the imagery. There's lots of things about death and consumption and the past and
where it uses food, especially.
Yeah, the way it's used to food and the way that they talk about the part. There's that great line where Diana says, "Oh, there is no future in this house. It's just the past and present are the same thing." I really like that, and there's a really chilling bit where she's with, her boys, and William says, "Oh, Mummy, what's happened to make you so sad? Is it something in your past?" And then Harry says, "No, I think it's something in your future." I don't know. I thought this really added to that, this kind of ghostly element. And for a lot of the film, Diana is wandering around Sandringham. She's not part of the royal family. She's not with her family. She's not staff as well. She's part of this sort of liminal space. And when her car arrives at Sandringham at the beginning, when she's late, she's late. Where is she? You've got this fantastic...
Oh, gosh, I don't know the way.
Yeah, I'm lost. We'll get to that. This drone shot that follows her into this immaculately built Sandringham estate. And that for me was like the beginning of The Shining. It's like them approaching the Overlook
very
Hotel.
Shining-y, yeah.
And the music that accompanies it is so discordant and strange and full of like jazz pianos.
Love the score.
And Johnny Greenwood, who's formerly of Radiohead, did the score. And actually, Johnny Greenwood is becoming like a magnificent composer. He started in Radiohead, and then he broke away and did the There Will Be Blood soundtrack, which was a masterpiece. And then ever since then he's done these really profound. Every time Johnny Greenwood does a score, it delivers. And I was listening to it and thinking this is wonderful. Again, the cinematography is like shimmering and beautiful, but also very suffocating,
cold, sterile,
stately, very stately. So it shimmers, but it is like preserved.
There's both literally and metaphorically an air of death and sterile. Like one of the opening shots and like one of the again, what I think is very on the nose analogy was like hunted game scattered around the grounds and pheasants that were dead.
I didn't find that. It's pointed, and for you it was on the nose, but for me that was the fact that it was that dramatically hinted at was part of the sort of melodrama of the whole thing.
I get you, but when you're taking okay, so this is the story, but we're not going to tell the whole story. We're going to tell it over 3 days, knowing that everyone knows what happens to Diana, and we're going to use lines like where she looks over her shoulder right at the camera and goes, "Do you think they'll kill me?"
Yeah,
to me, I kind of cringed. I'm like, oh, like, and then the pheasant thing, I got, and I don't want to spoil it, but the analogy of things being hunted and pheasants being reared to be slaughtered is very much what. Not to reduce it, but there is a culmination point at the end which has something to do with pheasants being hunted. Yeah. And I was a bit like, I get it, and I wanted maybe something a bit smarter, really. And it's a shame because I don't hate it, but it's like there are so many other elements I really enjoyed which could have been further explored. But that element I didn't find interesting to come to the end.
But did you not feel like the experience of it? I felt like he was saying, forget the facts. Let's capture the experience of being in her place when she's having the dinner. And she's got the pearls and it's the soup, and you've got Charles opposite. And what I like is that Charles has got that face which shows that like he's under a mask as well.
Yeah.
He's also brittle and hiding something, and there is this deathly silence.
That scene didn't work for me. It really didn't. So I understand.
We should just explain
there are pearls that Charles bought for Diana, which he famously also bought Camilla the same pearls. So Diana feels this obviously huge sense of pressure to wear these pearls because it's a gift, and it would be like what she wears is also like really strict and really laid out. It's like Christmas morning breakfast, afternoon tea, church, all this. And so she was usually doesn't wait to wear it. And like but the easiest comparison I can make is like the One Ring. It's the kind of like weight it has on her. And there's this whole sequence where she has to eat the soup and the pearl. It goes into sort of semi-dreamlike state where the pearls are part of the food and vice versa. And it's a very sort of, over-the-top style sequence, but the way in which, even though I love the score, the way in which that was, it might be the editing, to be honest, like cut together and revealed to me. I again, it was one of those scenes I was like, that didn't work, and it felt like student theatre to me. And the way in which the music swelled up, and it's this wonderful score that's like chaotic and frenzied, and then it cuts to the people playing the cello and the violin in the corner, and I was like, why are they going all mad in the corner?
That music's already in there, and then they were just showing that it's diegetic music, not non-diegetic.
And I get it, but for some reason, it just didn't. Half of that film didn't work, and all the things you've talked about, like the presentation of the royals and how really harsh presentation of the royals. Not that I have a particular leaning. No, it's not. But like the way that the Queen was like very few lines, but lots of knowing.
But I don't think it was a harsh presentation of the royals. I think actually it showed them to be just as trapped as she was, but Diana was the only one to be able to speak out. Yeah, also, and I feel when we talk about Diana and the royals, that I feel perfectly comfortable that these are just fictional characters. It's not like people have that issue with the Crown. They're like, "Well, are we talking about Diana? Is it the real Diana?" I'm like,
it's quite easy in the Crown to separate. Okay, this is a conversation we're trying to pretend they had.
Yeah, but this is very much
even more
Spencer,
so.
Just like this is completely fictional.
I'm not going into it. But hang on, he wouldn't have said that.
No,
that's not my
issue.
It's like the presentation of its ideas, and there were just other things I would rather have focused on. Like when Sally Hawkins was talking about like all like their scenes and what happens with those two characters, and she's like, it's not all these things you think you need. You really need love, and and this is your problem. And she's focusing on so many other things. And the Sean Harris and all those amazing scenes in the kitchen and what it would be like to prepare food and the connection she has to people who are much more human than any of the royals are. I love that, but it just kept being sandwiched by these very weird scenes I didn't like.
I don't know.
Like, tell them I'm not well, sweeping gimbal shot through the hall. Tell them I'm not well.
but
close up, wide angle, Terrence
but
Malick,
that's all
I was
part of
rolling
it.
I rolled my eyes.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
I did.
No,
I did.
it was all part of it because
I don't think it had earned that level of swoopiness.
it has. It's swoopy from the beginning.
It is a swoopy. It's swoopy.
The theatricality is part of it. I thought about that. Put it this way: the first scene when we see Kristen Stewart, I thought, oh no, this is like a really stilted impression of Diana. But then I realised that's the whole point. She is uptight. She is tense. She
Petulant,
is brittle.
a little bit moany.
Yeah,
sure.
but within reason.
I don't mean that as a criticism. I think like we know Diana had a way of talking.
But
that
then
was
when
slightly
there is
like that.
the swirling kind of, okay, it might get a little Birdman-esque with the drums.
I was thinking it reminded me a lot of Birdman.
Which is a shame because a film I really don't like.
So I like Birdman. What don't you like about Birdman? You find it annoying? Do you feel like it doesn't
I think my issue with Birdman is that it is a film that enjoys poking fun at how pretentious and self-serious the entertainment industry is in a film that is itself pretentious and self-serious. The lack of irony between the way it presents itself and its message, I find just maddening.
That's true, but how do you make a film that's going to confront that?
Different way, satire, different fucking way. Loads of other ways.
It's a very pretentious film.
There's loads of Hollywood satires out there. The Player, for one.
Yeah.
Maybe Nashville. But,
I mean, I enjoyed the ride of Birdman. I was like, whoa, that was an experience that came out of it. But, yeah.
Permission to talk in expletives.
Yeah.
Birdman had a shitload more wank in it than Spencer does.
I'll give you that.
Spencer,
100%.
I was like, I know what you're doing. I can see where you're going for. Okay. Some members of the audience who sit across from me right now might have found it a little bit tedious and melodramatic. But I, for one, enjoyed it. But Birdman, the jellyfish.
A great double bill.
Oh. I'm well, maybe it's just down to taste because I did think in the first 15 minutes I was like, oh, this is my kind of film. I love the presentation, I love the vision, and I do like.
I also went in like wanting to like it. I really think I did, which is wrong. But I was like, oh, I think this is for me, and it turned out it wasn't.
Can we agree on anything? Can we agree that her performance is great?
I think her performance is great. I
didn't think Kristen Stewart. I wasn't watching it thinking that's Kristen Stewart there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we agreed on. Like its overall presentation, the way in which it sets up its story, I thought was fantastic. And again, like so many elements I really loved, and all those side characters I thought was so brilliantly done and felt really grounded and actually out of sync with what I thought like the rest of the film's execution was. It's just like half of the ideas I didn't like. We mentioned Anne Boleyn earlier, but there is like almost, haunted ghost-esque element where she's very much comparing herself to Anne Boleyn. And, the guy, one of the main sort of Tommy Lascelles type of maitre d's is sort of putting these images of Anne Boleyn, who is, you know this history better than me, I bet you do.
Yeah,
Go on then.
Who was beheaded by Henry VIII.
He
was the second
fell in love with a different woman, Jane Seymour. Yeah, exactly. So there's obviously like obvious comparisons.
They got a sword.
And you bet you're going to see Anne Boleyn walking through the halls, and then
sometimes Kristen Stewart
dressed as Anne Boleyn, which is a big reach. And it's not that I don't think this film could have done that. It didn't get me there.
You know what it is?
It didn't get me there well enough.
I think if you stick with Spencer. That's more.
You can't jump into the pool, not dip your toe.
I think it's like if you jump into it and that's the kind, and you are enjoying it and you're prepared to go with it, and I think it will carry you through.
There are a lot of films like that where if you weren't able to take the plunge, it wouldn't happen for you.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you weren't able to take the plunge. Maybe. I think you were. To be fair, I think we've had situations where this has been reversed, and I've definitely had moments where I'm like, I just wish I could like it more and engage in it more, but maybe it's because I knew I was going to get more. I mean, I know you said you expected that, but because I was like, I know what Jackie was like. I can see where Spencer was going to be, and I got what I wanted. And
I did go to read reviews afterwards because I was really curious. And the things the reviews that gave it 5 stars mentioned the things that I liked, but it didn't really. It didn't find the things I felt annoying and cringeworthy. They weren't mentioned. I was like, oh, that worked for you.
What I will say to your friend is this: I was in some of those.
Yeah.
I was in some of those.
She listens to the show.
I was in some of those plays that we took to Edinburgh, James,
Yeah.
and I can tell you right now, they were far shitter than Spencer. They were so much worse.
I know.